on News Talk 1480 WHBC.
The Kenny and JT Show, powered by Roosters, a fun, casual joint.
How about that? Look at that. Right there, if you're watching on Facebook or on the YouTube channel, it is a beautiful poster representing the 2000th win last night by the McKinley Bulldogs, and looking back at all the history, and the head coach of those Bulldogs in studio with us right now, Sean Weatherspoon. How are you, Coach?
Hey, man, I'm good. I'm in studio now. You know?
Yeah.
See that? We like it this way.
This was too big to do it on the phone. I texted him last night. I'm like, work your McKinley magic. You know everybody over there. Get
sure.
Coach Spoon in studio with us. How's it feel to get this thing out of the way on the first try, Coach?
Hey, man, it feels good. You know, the pressure was there. But my message to my kids was our mission was to win 17. And win 17 will give us win 2000, So they didn't want to put too much pressure on us, coming into that game. But I'm definitely glad we got it the first time.
That's awesome.
Your family, your history, the 2000 victories, you've been around for a lot of them. And you're still a young man. This is a huge, huge honor to win 2000. I mean, you're in charge of a program that's #1 wins in the state. When does that hit you?
Man,
before 2000,
man, just being in the grind of the season. I really don't realize it. It's funny. My sister called me yesterday before the game and told me, I know you locked into the game plan, things of that nature, but take a moment, step back, and realize what's really going on. And with about 1 second left, Davey Thompson at the free throw line, he hits that one, and we go up 4. I just think like, man, this is special. This is special, man. So truly blessed, man. Definitely grateful, and definitely happy to be here.
I saw Mike McDonald after the win in the Super Bowl, head coach of the Seahawks, and he stood at the 50-yard line. He just looked up, and the confetti's all around, and he's looking at the 12s, and that's their fan group. Were you able to take it in at the field house and really just take it all in? Yeah,
man. And the crowd was great. The crowd was great. The atmosphere was great. Hoover came and played a great game.
Mm-hmm.
I knew Coach Bowie was going to have those guys ready to go. I know they didn't want to be on the wrong side of history, right. But unfortunately for them, they were. But it was a great game, man. Connor Newell, Hunter Hirschberger, came and played their butts off. But it was a great atmosphere, man. Like I said, great crowd, great game, and we got the 2000.
All right, you're down 2 at halftime. You're not going to panic. It's only 2. But what was the message to the boys at halftime?
Yeah, man, we were definitely playing at Hoover's pace in the first half. A little slower than what we usually do. So, we just want to come out and play our game. Cam McKinley basketball, high-level defense, playing together offensively, and dominate the glass on both ends of the floor. And that's what we did definitely in the second half.
It's crazy. It's one thing to be a coach of a team that wins 2,000 games. It's another when it's your high school. I mean, I can't even imagine coming back. Kenny and I, we've talked to so many coaches that are now coaching where they went to high school.
Right.
What's it truly mean to you?
Man, I was talking to my assistant coach, Jay Keys, who also played here, when you grow up into this, you got family members that played before you as a young kid, you look up to the players that came before you. It's just a special feeling, a special feeling putting that red and black on, donning that red and black down at McKinley, basketball, having people in the field house, man. It's just honestly at times like I definitely get speechless, man. So definitely happy and I'm blessed, but like I said, definitely speechless too.
Family members. I mean, I told Kenny I was going to ask you as the keeper of the McKinley basketball program to name 4 other starters if you could from an all-time roster of greats. You'd have a hard time with your own family.
Right.
I mean, from Nick Weatherspoon, your great uncle,
right,
to Garland Rivers, can you name 4 other starters in your top 5 that would play from your family that played at McKinley?
Yeah, I could. You said Nick Weatherspoon, Eric Snow,
a little bit.
Yeah.
Dave Greer, my cousin Jason Snow. So that's what's
wait a
that?
minute.
That's 4.
Hey,
And
wait,
you.
wait a
You're
minute.
the 5th.
Wait a minute. Are you starting in that 5?
Yeah.
Okay.
I got to. I got to get in there.
Yeah. I mean, you're the player and the coach.
Right.
You're the player coach, like Bill Russell.
Right.
Hey, David Greer was a coach.
David
Greer was a good coach.
Oh, that's great. All right, so we were talking, and I wrote it down to ask you, was this just another game?
Yeah.
Or going into it, you said you wanted to get to 17. Okay, that's coach speak, but okay, you're at 16. This is the 17th. It's your first crack. It's at home. in the field house. Chance to get there. Was this just another game?
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. Definitely wanted to get it done, especially at home.
Right.
Anytime you get 2,000 wins, it's special. But especially at home, in front of your home crowd, a lot of people came back to that game. You had some former players in the building. Like I said, the band was there, the dance team, the cheerleaders. Man, it was electric in the field house last night. So definitely was special to get it done at home.
You're a state champion when you played in 2005. They went back to back, but you had already graduated. What's a bigger moment, the state championship or the 2000th victory?
Man, that's a tough question.
Right.
I'll tell you what will be a bigger moment if we get a state championship this year. You know what I mean?
Right.
So you talk about the cherry on top of the Sunday
right.
to win another state title, your fourth in school history
in
the same year you won your 2000th game.
Well,
yeah, that'd be crazy.
So you lost, if my memory serves me right, your senior year you lose one game.
Yeah, one game.
Okay, so I did a little deep dive here, Kenny,
There we go.
because I was looking at this year's schedule. If you wouldn't have lost that one game your senior year, you would have hit 2,000 last Friday against Jackson.
That's a good stat right there. That's a good stat.
Who'd you lose to? Who beat you that
who beat
year?
you?
We lost to Lancaster.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
A team out of Columbus.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Well, he's looking. I'm like,
I'm a numbers guy.
Oh, man. So, Coach, you brought us and hold that poster up again, JT, for people watching. And if not, you can go back and watch this on Facebook as well as YouTube. And it's got some of the greats of the greats that have played at McKinley High School. The first team ever, your team to get it done, 1-35 there. When you look at this, I mean, it's got to be mind-boggling to you to know that you're a part of this as a player state champion and now the coach to win the 2000 game. What goes through your mind when you look at all the greats that have come through McKinley High School in basketball?
I mean, first word is definitely tradition. Legendary. It's crazy. A lot of players ain't even on that poster. You can still put more on there. But like I said, man, it's a blessing. To be in the midst of greatness. And all these players and teams and coaches. It's just like I said, definitely a blessing, and I hope they should be proud.
So many great players on this poster. And will this be available? People can pick it up maybe at the school when they get them done?
Yes, it is. I believe they're on sale for $5.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
Yep, yeah. So
that's cheap, man, for the history like that.
Absolutely, yeah. So definitely, I believe they put everything else as far as T-shirts and apparel and things like things like that as well. On the social medias and stuff. So definitely, order up and get some.
This is a must-have for anybody who's a big Bulldog fan or even a Stark County basketball fan.
Absolutely.
Because when you look at the Anthony Robinsons, the Bill Robinson, all the way to Troy and Ronnie on this, Bobo is in here. Raymar Morgan, your teammate, is on this thing. Your family members. This is outstanding, man. Who put this together? You have any idea?
I don't, man. But it's nice though. It's definitely nice, like you said, man. It goes back all the way to the first team, up to our team currently, man. So it's definitely a good keepsake.
We need to bring back these old uniforms that Nick Weatherspoon. Look at this, Kenny, where they had like the stripes on the shorts.
Oh, nice.
We need
to
bring those back.
Yeah, that's cool. Coach, I was doing my sports report for Canton's Morning News, and not only was it win 2000, but it was also win 12 without a loss in the Federal League, first time in school history to do that as well. I mean, we're talking about milestones, right? There's only one more to get then, right?
Yeah,
when you go there, right?
Yeah, it's special. You guys know, the Federal League is super tough. A lot of great coaches, a lot of great players, man. And to go 12-0 is definitely a blessing, but it's also a credit to my kids and their hard work in the off season, hard work, during the preseason and during the season too. So definitely shout out to my guys.
I want to talk about being focused because I asked Kenny this question earlier. An old, dearly departed friend of mine was a basketball coach. He was an assistant at Ohio State, used to coach at Akron as well. Coach Peters, who had passed away a few years ago, told me that a lot of times when you win a big game, and especially when you're talking about, he was talking about college athletes that are a little bit older than yours. How do you get them refocused after such a big emotional victory? What was it like at practice today? And how do you gear up for Massillon on Friday?
16 to 17-year-old kids.
Right. You see what I'm
saying? Very, very excited, trying to preach to these guys 24-hour rule, enjoy it for 24 hours and lock it back in. Because like you said, we got a huge one on Friday over at Massillon. They're playing extremely well. Definitely we don't want to spoil this 2000. losing our 2000 missing for a chance for 2001. So got to lock in. Got to have, had a pretty good day today. I know guys were locked in, excited, and things like that. But understanding the task at hand on Friday is definitely tough.
Are you going to be prepared? Are you going to have that speech in the back pocket just in case you get there and the guys are still talking about the other night and everything like that to refocus them?
Oh, hey, if they still talking about on Tuesday, they ain't playing Friday. I'll tell you that.
There we go. That's the message right there. That's Herb Brooks right there. Like Miracle on Ice.
We got to move on, man.
Next game ahead,
Absolutely.
right? And like you said, I think they only have one loss this year, right?
Yeah, man, playing very well.
Athletes.
Coach Holmes is doing a great job with that program. Like I said, athletes, Thick Pen, Gamble, Geo Jackson, man, Xavier Williams. They come at you fast, averaging about 83 points a game. In a 32-minute game is kind of crazy. You know what I mean? Scored 100 points a couple times, so. Definitely got our hands full, but definitely up to the challenge for sure.
Yeah, if you guys play your game, I mean, we've seen, games where you've been taken to overtime in certain situations and games where if you would have played the entire game, it probably wouldn't have been as close. And this is going to be a big one Friday night in Massillon. You guys are on the road. Now you've got 2,000 wins behind you. Focus on the remainder of the season. Is it ever occur to you, Coach Sean Weatherspoon is our guest right now, being an alumni, and being that you've been through the battles and you won a state championship, is that an advantage for you as a coach at McKinley for your players?
I think it can be. I've been through the grind. I understand. I was taught well from Coach Hoover and Coach Malone and that staff. Understand. How to prepare. How to understand. What it takes to get to now 28 games. Back then it was 27. It definitely can be an advantage. I'll try to preach to my guys. It's a long journey. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah.
And every day counts.
The other thing I was telling Kenny about, a couple of things actually. We were talking about this. It's kind of water cooler talk, but now we have a water cooler at the gym, and we always bring up, different statistics and whatnot. We're talking about this the other day. Did it ever occur to you that how can I phrase this? With such a rich program at the football team, that Canton McKinley could be considered a basketball school?
Yeah, man, it's crazy you say that because when I first got the job, me and Coach Holmes over at Massillon were kind of speaking on this. He's like, over here we're pretty much a football school. Of course, Massillon. But over here, like you said, McKinley can be considered a basketball school. Like you said, with all the wins and the championships and things of that nature. So, but we just try to do our part, in keeping the tradition going. Definitely supporting the football team, and think we could definitely be both a sports school.
We talked about it on the show earlier. In football, every year they list the top 10 winningest high schools, right? Massillon, I think, is number 2. McKinley's 7 or 8, right, JT? When it comes to football, but 2,000 wins. It's the most in the state of Ohio. Now, there are other schools in other states that have 2,000, but you're top 10 there too. So that makes the argument that it's a football and basketball school, isn't it?
I would agree with that for sure. Like you said, man, 2,000 is a crazy accomplishment. I'll be happy if we a basketball school.
See, there's another thing too. We can see this when we talk to other high school football coaches. Like we had the new head coach of the Louisville High School on. And they have little leopards, and they have, kids leagues and whatnot. And, that's one thing in football. We talk about it at Perry. We talk about it at Canton. Canton City had always, we couldn't call it Pop Warner now, but, we used to call it when we were kids. Is there a feeder system for a basketball program? Are there leagues in the city? I mean, how does this, it just doesn't happen. You end up with 12 straight wins and a federal league title. Where do you get the kids? Where do you start them?
Yeah. It definitely starts early. We have a K through 2 league that's run out of Hartford Middle School. And then we have a 4, 5, and 6 league too as well as ran out of the BAC.
Okay.
My cousin Jay Snow is actually our youth coordinator.
Okay.
So he does a great job, skill work, building fundamentals, getting teams together and things like that. We also have teams that go and travel and play in travel leagues too as well. So definitely playing a lot of basketball. Okay. Definitely trying to build fundamentals and skill work and things like that. So when they get up to us, they'll be ready to go.
Okay.
Coach, before the season started, I talked to a number of different people that I consider very knowledgeable on Stark County basketball. Some coaches, some not coaches, and they said McKinley's the team to beat this year in the Federal League. So there was that bullseye on your back this year. How are you able to make the kids, rise to the occasion every night because the other team's playing McKinley, right? That's their game of the year, possibly. How have your kids been able to handle that 17 times out of 20 games?
It definitely was tough to begin. Like you said, the bullseye was finally back on our back.
Right.
In recent years, it hasn't been. We were accustomed to being the hunted. And like I said, in recent years, we were hunting other teams. And now, we're back to being the hunted. It definitely was, grinding. Tough games. The first Glenville game had to go to overtime, coming back from 30 points down. The first Hoover game was back and forth. Went to overtime too. Last week, Green came into the field house, was winning for 4 quarters, and we somehow find a way to win overtime, man. So every team gave us their best shot. But I think every game, every situation that we've been through this year is definitely prepared for the tournament.
I want to ask you about Gary Grant being at the game. We see it all over social media the other day, and such a special season so far. Gary Grant, one of the greatest, if not the greatest, that ever played at Kent McKinley basketball. Have there been others that have been coming back because it's such a special time for McKinley hoops?
Yeah, definitely. A lot of my former players, my former teammates have been back. Actually, we're planning a trip to possibly go up to Michigan State in a couple of weeks to see Ray Moore. He's up there coaching with Izzo. So possibly go to a practice in the game up there in a couple of weeks. Trying to get a little bit of motivation going into the tournament. But like you said, Gary Grant came back last week. Other players, Marcus Parker's always around. He trains a lot of our players. One-on-one skill work. So guys are always tapped in with us. Also if people want to come back for the camp situation in December. A lot of alumni come back and important to our players too. Phil always come back and, and speak. Hoover. Yeah, man. Yeah. So a lot of greats come back and important to our kids.
We're having Ronnie on with us tomorrow at about 4:00 to talk a little bit more about this and Ohio State basketball as well. Sean Weatherspoon, our guest in studio today. We're doing this live on our YouTube channel. We thank you for tuning in. Head basketball coach at Kent McKinley, and we talk about all the history. And you can go back to when, even before you were a kid, because obviously when you're connected to, again, arguably the greatest McKinley basketball player of all time, Nick Weatherspoon, it brings up a lot of memories. What's your first memory about the program? First time you went to a McKinley game, or maybe the first time you saw Eric dunk or something? I mean, what comes to mind when you think about McKinley, not as a player and not as a coach?
First memory was as a probably about 4 or 5 year old carrying my uncle Eric's bags out of the field house after a game.
Really?
Yeah.
How cool is that?
Right, yeah. I mean, it was a heavy bag. It was 4 or 5 year old. So. But as a kid watching or a play that sticks out. Was a Keith McLeod, bounce off the ground dunk in the field house that brought the house down, man. So seeing those players, coming up definitely motivated me to want to be those guys. I know I wasn't as good as those guys, but I definitely did my part and helped get these 2,000 wins.
I know it probably was the greatest day in your life when you win the state championship. Probably means more to you now, looking back on this, knowing that there have been 2,000 victories, but only 3 state championships, right? And you were a part of one of those.
Yeah.
Well, take me through what 18-year-old Sean Weatherspoon remembers about winning the state title and now thinking back on it, hoping to get another one as a coach.
Yeah, man, it's funny you say that because, as a kid, when I was playing here, in the 4 years I played here, I was down in the Final Four 3 times. So I just thought it was normal. I thought, you play your regular season, you play your regular season games and you go through your districts and your regionals and you're down in Columbus. But as a coach now, man, it's super tough. It's super tough to get out of the district, super tough to win regionals. And understand that, now as a coach, you can't take anything for granted. Everything has to kind of line up for you, as far as like teams being healthy and matchup and things like that. So, definitely don't take it for granted for sure.
What is it about Kent McKinley? It's like the stars align, and the next thing you know, you got a Ricky, you got a Raymar, you got a Sean, you got a Marcus, on the football team. You got a Mike Doss, you got a KP. I mean, what is it about certain times that are different than others? And then all of a sudden, like Kenny mentioned, a lot of people were picking you guys to go pretty deep this year.
I think that's a credit to the classes coming up. Classes being close knit, and like the class I played with. I was a senior, but played with those guys all my life too, as well. And they play together, together all their life as well. So, it's just a rich tradition, rich history. The families in Canton, want to be Bulldogs, and growing up and and making great names for themselves.
All right, when's the tournament draw?
The 22nd.
22nd.
Yeah.
Okay. So will you be done with all your games by then?
Yeah. Our last game is next Tuesday, the 17th.
That's the weirdest thing I always forget about.
I know, right? So when you go into that as a coach, for our listeners out there that maybe don't understand how this works, give them an idea of you get to pick where you want to be on the bracket. Right?
Yes.
What goes into your thinking with that?
With me, I really don't care about travel. My biggest thing is matchups, and what's the easiest route for me to get to a ring. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So right now we're currently third in our region, which is a good space to be in. So we have the opportunity to go to a district first and basically be a number one seed in that district because we have 18 teams and it's 4 districts broken down in those 18 teams.
Okay.
So like I said, definitely want to be top 4. Like I said, but for me, like I said, it's all about matchups and figuring out what's the best route for us to go.
Will you play the extra game if it leads to better matchups, or do you want that day off or that game off?
I'm more of a coach that less games the better. I don't want to risk an injury or things like that. So I definitely want to go shortest route as possible.
Because I've always wondered that, right? We see it in college football now with the playoffs. The Buckeyes didn't, and they had to win the 4 games to win it. So, with the Indiana this year, they got the bye. And so I guess there's give and take, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Based on the team.
Yeah. I mean, and this year is a little different. Because I think we have about 12 games. 12 days in between our last game and our first tournament game. I know some teams got about 18 days in between, which is crazy.
Wow.
Because OSHA ended up changing the draw date. It usually would be about this weekend.
That's why I asked.
Yeah.
I thought you might have some games left. And you have to do the draw before you're finished.
Yeah, it's different this year. I mean, I like it. You get your full complement of games on your resume. But I would just like the tournament to start a little bit earlier.
Yeah, I could get that. So how will you simulate live? We always joke live action. How do you get that to keep your kids sharp?
Yeah, man, it's tough. Plan on doing a couple things. A couple days off, a couple skill work days, and then a couple live practice days and things like that. We also have a scrimmage in our back pocket that we could use if needed.
Did you save that purposely?
Yeah,
okay.
For sure. Yep. So if we need it, we could definitely use that to get that live game action.
Yeah, you want that. You want to be sharp as a tack going into the tournament and everything. Yep. Well, hey, it's been a great season so far for
Thank you, man. Appreciate
Federal League
it.
champs, undefeated, 2,000th win. One more goal. Yeah. Well, I guess districts, and then but that ultimate goal would be to get number 4, right, for Camp McKinley State Championship.
Yes, sir.
Coach, thanks so much for coming in studio on such a special day. We know how precious your time is as a coach, but to come in with us, share these stories, and talk about winning number 2,000. It's awesome for us as fans, and great for you, your family, and every McKinley Bulldog to ever put on a pair of sneakers, right?
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having me, man. I definitely appreciate it. You guys do a great job. Team supporting us, man. Go Dogs.
Yeah, we're hoping to be in Dayton with you this year.
Absolutely.
We were there last year with Louisville and Perry.
Let's do
hopefully, McKinley's one of the teams in Dayton this year.
Let's do it.
All right, there he is. Sean Weatherspoon, head coach of the McKinley Bulldogs, checking in with us here. Brian, we going to break or we ending the show? All right, we'll get a break in, then we'll come back, wrap things up before we turn it over to Cavs basketball against the Wizards. Stay with us.